Hello and what's up everyone, Thunderbob here, and tonight I'm playing some more Diablo 2 Resurrected. Specifically in this video, I'm going to show off my Battle.net character, the progress I've made, and kind of my general magic find routine, now that I have a pretty good amount of magic find and pretty far as the gear goes. I'm going to show you most of the different areas that I will visit. I don't necessarily do all of these in one go, but when I'm bored, I might switch it up. I might go to one or another. And also, if I'm specifically looking for certain things, I might target some of these. I'm going to talk about that as I go through. First off, I just want to show the gear and the build I'm running. I am doing a Frozen Orb Firewall build, and I've modified it a little bit since the last video. Gear hasn't changed substantially. I'm using Oculus, which I do intend to cycle with an IST eventually. Shaco with Topaz in there for the Magic Find Spirit. Talrashas. I've got the 3 pieces of Talrasha, which all combined will give you, I think it's 186 Magic Find, something like that. You get 112 from the armor, 65 for the 3 piece. Yeah, that sounds about right. And then I got the 15% on the belt here. Inferno Shred, I just haven't replaced these. The fire resist is kind of nice, but other than that, it's not a huge bonus. I'll probably try to trade for some more travelers. I still haven't found any. I found a couple of gore riders, not really useful for this character. Just using a 10% FCR ring to hit the 105 breakpoint. I really need to trade for a 35% spirit, which would give me enough to hit 105 even without the ring. But I have not done that yet. So once I get 105 FCR without the ring, I'll probably be replacing this. This was my last big find. I did get this on a Mephisto run, so I do have a single SOJ. The first one I've probably found in 20 years. I think I had one drop shortly after the release of the expansion years and years ago, and I've never found one since, so that was a very happy day indeed. And Mage Fist for the FCR and the fire skill. On Switch, I've just got a lower resist wand. Yeah, I've got Talrash's full set in the stash also, but I don't tend to use it when I'm magic finding. I think you get better survivability with it, but my magic find here is closer to 400. Actually, it was, before I found the SOJ, it was right at 400. I had a Nagel ring on, but taking that off, I think took me down to like 359 now. And then the build, I did respec. I was going much heavier into Firewall. Previously, I think my Firewall was hitting about 14,000 damage. And I did a couple videos, you can see those, where I made some single-player characters to test out the various different builds and different spec levels. So I had a couple where I went heavy into Frozen Orb, and then back up Firewall. A couple where I went heavy into Blizzard, back up at Firewall at various gear levels. And I found I like Frozen Orb a lot, specifically for Player 1 games. And online, I'm almost exclusively playing Player 1. It's so hard to magic find, finding games to leech off of and magic find at higher player counts is just not fun. So usually I'll just do Player 1. If they do add the ability to do Player 8 into multiplayer, then maybe I'll go Blizzard, secondary, Firewall. But for Player 1 difficulty, I think Frozen Orb is a good spot to be at. Getting about 600 damage. So I've got Frozen Orb maxed. I've got Ice Bolt maxed. I've got 12 into Cold Mastery. So I've got 125 negative with my plus to skills at this point. So I put a few more into Cold Mastery, which I think for some enemies, a little over 100 is nice. I think somewhere between 100 and 150 is probably where you want to target it, depending on what you're farming. Like Mephisto, you'd actually benefit from all the way up to negative 175%, for example. But normal mobs, they start to cap out around like the 130 range. So that's about where I'm at. Lightning, I got my 3 core skills, and then fire, I've got Firewall maxed, and then a mix between warmth and fire mastery. Basically, you want to think, depending on your plus skills, you want fire mastery with plus skills to be a few points ahead of warmth base points. There's some calculators out there. I found having it like 6 to 7 difference between fire mastery with plus skills and my base plus warmth to be around the right mark to get maximum damage. And I actually just leveled, so I think I needed to put one more point into fire. Yeah, there's 8,000 damage now. At this point, I'm putting points into my fire skills. I've got, I think, enough in Cold Mastery and Ice Bolt. So that's the build, and then I went just enough strength for my Monarch, for the Spirit, the rest into Vitality. It's certainly an option to go heavy block, but I find most of the time I'm able to maneuver and avoid melee attacks with Teleport, and it's mostly like the magic damage and like the ranged attacks um, that are hurting me, and I found Vitality was usually better. Certainly a valid strategy to go, uh, Dexterity for block as well if you're into that. But I usually prefer on a sorceress to go high life. Now I'm gonna go through a quick cheat sheet I wanted to share with everyone. Let me just pull that up here. Okay, so I'll have the link to this website down in the description and the comments of the video. I apologize if I'm a little nasally right now. I'm getting over a cold. Uh, we're all fine, but been a little miserable the last couple days. But yeah, so if I'm a little nasally, my apologies. This is a cheat sheet that I've used basically since release. It's really amazing. I actually have two monitors. I play on a 34-inch ultra wide monitor, and then I've got a secondary monitor. It's a 24-inch in the vertical format. So I've got it where I can look at this page and just scroll through it on my secondary monitor, and it's formatted really nicely for the vertical monitor. But there's all kinds of really useful data on here: FCR, FHR, block rate calculations, all the runes, what you need to do to up them. You've got the symbols for the Valley of the Kings. You've got who drops the different keys, upping rares and uniques. This is one we get it back to in a minute. This is maybe my favorite chart on the whole sheet. All of the rune words, and you can actually, all this is interactable. You want to see like the best of the rune words. You want to see them by name. You want to see by type, by sockets, by the highest rune required, and all kinds of stuff. Just a cool website. What all the gems do, all the crafting types, and what you need to do those crafts. All the way down here, there's actually even, if you want to do like a Holy Grail, there's actually even like a Holy Grail checklist. So like I got altars, you check this, and it takes it off the list, and it shows you what percentage of your Holy Grail you're done with. I haven't really messed with that, but if you want a Holy Grail without, some separate spreadsheet, this is a really cool cheat sheet for that. This is really nice too. It shows you all of the areas and how they connect, and even like the recommended path for those areas. So in the Bloodmoor, typically you follow the path that'll lead you to the den, and that'll lead you to the Cold Plains. Cold Plains usually follow path, and so on and so forth. And in the cellar for Countess, you usually go left, 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 and then like just a really nice cheat sheet for all the areas in case you're not familiar with them. Most of these, my muscle memory kicks in and I kind of just know the pathway, but every so often I'll reference this when I'm leveling up a new character. The most kind of important thing on this sheet, I think, is this. It shows all of the level 87 areas. I'm not going to hit all of these tonight. I'm actually going to show like all the boss runs and how my build does on those. And then I'm going to focus on keys and show you all the key run areas. And then I'm going to show, I think, the Mausoleum, Ancient Tunnels, Travincal. But this shows you each of the level 85 areas, which drop up to TC87 when you kill like a unique mob. And this shows you like Hell Cows is 81, and it shows you what'll drop in the 85, 86, and the 87 areas. So almost anything in the game can drop in these areas. There's a few exceptions to that rule. But the nice thing it shows you here is the monsters that spawn in these zones, what type of immunities they have. So the Mausoleum only has lightning immunes. It also shows you the number of enemy packs, so this is kind of critical too. So it shows you Mausoleum has only lightning, and there's 4 to 5 packs. It shows you Lost City has everything except cold. This is Ancient Tunnels is one of the things that Blizzard sorceresses run almost exclusively because it's one of the few areas that have no cold immunes and have the most packs. So Ancient Tunnels is really good for like cold heavy sorceresses, which is what this build basically is. Maggot Layer is pretty good too, except yeah, screw Maggot Lair. I'm never going in that place again by choice. But Mausoleum is okay. There's more packs in the Lost City. Mausoleum I find is a little easier to find. But Ancient Tunnels is probably easier because there's more packs and you can get more done per run. Sometimes I'll do some of these other ones with this this build with both fire and cold damage. Like this area will have, both fire and cold, so you're more likely to run into dual immunities is the main reason why you don't always do that. But sometimes when I'm doing Travincal, I'll do these two and I'll show them on my Travincal run. These are very close, just down the pathway, and they're always in the same spot, which is nice. But there are only 2 packs. So if you do Travincal and then you go and do these 2, you get 4 additional packs to kill. It's not always worth it to do that. So I'm going to jump in, but I'm going to have a link. This is just a really good reference sheet for all kinds of information, specifically for farming if you want to know, even if you're not a dual elemental sorceress, here's a really great cheat sheet to know where you can farm kind of effectively. Yep, so we'll get right into the murdering of monsters. Okay, so I'm going to start with the bosses. Andariel, of course, is the first. And she's pretty good to farm, like, when you're first starting out. Like, if you don't have the gear to be able to do Mephisto, I would start at Andariel. Andariel also has very bad fire resist. She's got -50 fire resist, even in hell difficulty. So if you're a fire sorceress, this is a great place to start farming at. But if you're able to do it, Mephisto, or even Diablo or Baal, that's where I would go to. But she's, she could drop a lot of items, and if you do fire damage, she just instantly dies. There's also, her drops are bugged, so you can get extra drops from her as well. Mephisto is probably my favorite magic finding spot in the whole game. It's so easy to get to him if you have teleport. Like, this is literally going to be a 25-second run. And for him, I still use Firewall, even though I don't have it maxed any longer, and it's literally... And look at that. That's pretty good. Ormus and a rainbow facet. Yeah, that was a really quick one. So, but if you can farm Mephisto, if you have the gear for it, I would recommend doing it over Andariel. But if you're just starting out, like, Andariel is a good starting point. If you're graduating maybe from Nightmare Mephisto, you might then jump to Hell Andariel to get those extra couple of possible drops. I'm going to do this rather quickly. Usually I'll try to clear the whole thing, but for brevity here, I'm going to skip what I can. But with this... Oh, Rook's about to die. With this setup, I think I'm doing a lot quicker on, like, the trash mobs. With my old setup, I was going a lot slower because I was firewall focused, and in the Chaos Sanctuary there are a number of fire immunes. There's really only like 2 or 3 enemies that you typically need to kill that are cold immune, and the firewall dealing 7,000 damage for me is doing just fine. I could actually get him away from the wall where I can hit him with it. Stop moving. Okay. And like that 7,000 damage does just fine to kill the fire mutants still. And let's get the last seal. And you probably notice how much quicker this is. I think I'll probably do this in about 2 or 3 minutes, where in that last video where I showed off the previous build, I think this took me like 8 minutes. Part of that is I'm skipping some content, but also it's just I'm dealing probably 50% more damage between having Frostbolt and then having Cold Mastery considerably higher. So, yeah, I should be on Diablo. And I never seem to get good drops from these 3 uniques here. But Diablo's dropped me some good stuff. Let's see what he gives me. Yeah, and Firewall burns Diablo through, even though I only have 7,000 damage instead of 14,000. Okay. Now we'll do Baal. This is, I think, one of the harder things in the game. Like, this is probably after you get a little bit further spec'd. And not all builds can even do this. I was having, with Blizzard, some difficulty on the second wave. But since specking to this, it's so much easier to take down. God, I hate the ghosts. It's the worst. Since respecking, I find those waves a lot easier to deal with. Just clean up the inventory here. I should really be running like a row of... Oh, that's not bad. If it was ethereal, that'd be great. Yeah. I haven't seen that since D2R came out. Is that Viva something? Viva... It's like a +1 sorceress shield. I only would grab it because it's nice for low level. Like, before you can get Spirit Shield, it's a nice... though I don't know that I'm going to make another sorceress anytime soon, so I don't know if I'll keep it. But, yeah. And some of these waves, it's better to put out a couple of firewalls ahead of time. Some of the waves, it's better to deal with your fall damage. This wave, you kind of have to be careful. If you don't have very good resists on your mercenary, he can bite the dust from those hydras. I find if I don't pay attention, I'll lose my merc about 25% of the time. And they do stay up, so even after you kill the council, yeah, your merc can still die. So a little bit of fire absorb or max resists come in handy here. This pack, they have pretty high fire resist, so I would just use your Frozen Orb or Blizzard if you're Blizzard Sorceress. But pretty simple. Definitely tell this is quicker than the previous video. And then this last pack, it may be more effective to just drag them away, depending on... And I got hit, teleported right into the middle of them. Glad I didn't die there. That would have been embarrassing. It may be more productive to drag these guys out and just trigger Baal to be able to take them on. You know, so like here, you know, it took me what, 40 seconds or something. That's not too bad, but if you're finding it's very slow for that wave, you can just clear the entryway, drag them out, and then once you hear Baal laugh, teleport in and go down. And Baal has some decent fire resist, but I still find it's better to use Fireball at this stage than Frozen Orb. If I was Blizzard, I would probably be using Blizzard here. And yeah, Baal. Doesn't really give me anything good. Okay, now I'm going to show the 3 key dropping enemies, the Countess, the Summoner, and the nihlathak. These are productive. They're less so now because there's a lot of people that have done it. I find keys are not selling as well as they used to, but if you're looking for keys for your own, or you're putting some key sets together for like training for ists or whatever, you know, I'll usually stop and kill any uniques I find along the way. That's just how I roll usually. So you start this out by finding the Black Marsh and teleporting around. There's not really a rhyme or reason I found where this spawns, but it's usually not hard if you've got teleport. And then typically it's from the entrance. You want to go towards the left. And usually I'll just teleport around. These levels are fairly small, so it doesn't take too long to get to the bottom. If I find any uniques or champions, I'll usually take the second to kill them. They're usually pretty easy since they're Act 1 as well. They're not going to be TC87 drops, of course, so you're not going to get the highest class of items, but you can get some good stuff in here. For 5, I'll just usually teleport across, and she's usually in either the middle room or one of these side rooms. Firewall works really well. Her pack that she runs with is always cold immune, and then she is often both fire and cold immune, but normally your mercenary is going to be able to take her on. So that's Countess. She also drops runes, of course. I think it's up to low as a possibility, though it's rare when it gets that high. And then, of course, you've got the Summoner. Arcane Sanctuary, just teleport all the way around until you find him. If you get lucky, it's on your first round. If you're like me, it's usually not on your first round. Hey, here he is. Usually drop Firewall right on him, and then just an orb for anything around, and no key. So I usually just click the book and go to the valley and or the canyon and keep going. next nihlathak. He is in Act 5 in the Halls of Pain. Typically grab the waypoint. You used to not be able to get the waypoint and kill him, or else you would lose the portal, and that's been changed in D2R, so you can get the waypoint. He's always either north, east, south, or west. There is a little trick to finding which one he is. There's like an eyeball that you can keep an eye out for, and then when you actually locate him, I usually just put a firewall right on top of him. You got to be really careful in here. As you can see, I just about died. He will do a really nasty corpse explosion, and I'd usually try to kill him without killing anything else. Blizzard Sorcerers actually have it easiest because everything else is cold immune, so you can actually just drop a blizzard on him, and then when he dies, nothing else will have died. You won't get corpse exploded. And now I'm going to go into the TC87 areas I oftentimes run. This is the Mausoleum. Basically, you go to the burial grounds from the Cold Plains. Anyone who's played this game should know where Bloodraven is. There's 2 dungeons, one on each side. For whatever reason, Blizzard, a decade ago, they added a few areas that have these higher level drops. One of them is the Mausoleum, and it's not quite as good as the Ancient Tunnels. There's fewer packs here, but usually there's at least like 3 to 5, I find. And these have the same drop rates as Ancient Tunnels or, Worldstone Chamber, like just about anything that can drop, other than a couple of super unique items that drop from, I think Diablo and Baal are the only ones that drop them. So pretty easy place to find, and pretty easy place to farm. I still prefer Ancient Tunnels with these builds. Pits is also a good one, not so much with this build, but the pits in Act 1. I'm not going to show it this video, but that's another alternative. And that leads us to Ancient Tunnels, which we go to the Lost City and teleport around. It's usually a little trap door somewhere around these like ruined cities. Usually it's not too difficult to find. I say that now and I'm not going to find it. And usually you'll see it on your mini-map before anything else. Come on. Bueller? And there it is. You can see it on the mini-map there briefly. Ancient Tunnels. It looks a lot like the sewers, and lots of skeletons and baddies in here, but no natural cold immunes. So this is a great area. You don't even need to bust out Firewall most of the time. There can be fire immunes just because these unique and champion mobs can spawn with it, but the base monster types, none of them naturally have cold immunity. So that's why this is one of the best areas to farm for sorcerers who heavily invests in cold. This is a great place even for a single element sorceress, like a pure orb or a pure blizzard sorceress to come farm. And there's usually like 6 to 8 named mobs in here in a fairly tight area. So just overall, one of the best farming areas in the game. I kind of find it boring. I myself prefer, I think, to run the actual bosses just because you have such a good chance on the last kill. So lately, if I've only got a short time to play, I'll do like Mephisto runs. If I've got some more time to kill, I'll do some Chaos Sanctuary or Diablo or Baal. But this is a very effective place to farm as well. And that leads to the last place I'm going to show off, Travincal. This is a very good place, I'm told, to find runes at. There are a number of council members here. They all drop a good amount of gold. This is actually, for me, one of the harder areas to farm. You really need to deck out your merc with really good fire resist, and even like fire absorb is useful. So when I run this, I tend to lose my merc enough that I don't find it that fun. There are builds that specifically target this area, like gold fine barbarians, because of how much gold they drop here. heavy gold find will net you like millions of gold per run, to the point where you can just gamble and then craft as well. And then here, those two other side areas, they're always in the same spot. The diffused reliquary and what is it, the ruined fang. These usually have like 2 packs per. Now there are more frequently cold immunes in here, so this is not necessarily like the best spot to run for this build. But if I'm doing Travincal runs, I'll oftentimes also come in here, and since we're a dual elemental sorceress, we usually don't run into problems, except for the very rare dual immunity. But each of these only take like 30 seconds. They're very tiny. And then you zip out and you zip to the other side. The other one is right over here. Ruined Fang. That's a good name. Bane. Yeah. Same thing. Couple of fire or cold immunes you probably have to deal with. And 1 or 2 named packs. If you can deal with Travincal quick enough, I don't know that it's necessarily that profitable to come here, but if you have trouble, this is another option. I would probably, for a cold sorceress, direct you to do Ancient Time. Okay, so that's where I'm at. That's my build, that's my gear, and kind of some of the common areas that I farm. Kind of the way I think about it is, you're leveling up. You probably start with like Nightmare Mephisto. You graduate to Andariel. You'll move on to Hell Mephisto. You probably stick with Hell Mephisto for a long time. He's probably one of the best places to target because he drops so many items. It's so easy to do. It's so quick to do with teleport. And then as you graduate and you get a little bit stronger, you'll probably do some of these TC87 areas. These will drop a few items that Mephisto will not. And then eventually you'll be doing Chaos Sanctuary runs solo and Baal solo. That's kind of, I think, the end goal for most of these builds, is to be able to do those solo. As you can see here, River Flames and Chaos Sanctuary have TC87, but they have even more packs, and then you get to kill Diablo at the end. Same thing with the World Stone. For anything in the throne room is this level, and then you get to kill Baal at the end. So I think that's kind of the end goal. And then if you're targeting like specific things, maybe you want keys, you run the key bosses. Maybe you want, mid to high runes, Countess. Travincal is great for runes. It's great for gold. It's great for jewelry as well, for whatever reason. But there's not like a right or a wrong place. There's some ways to optimize it, but in the end, have fun. Like, if you're not enjoying running the same thing over and over again, pick something else, or take a break. At a certain point, like, I ended up getting kind of burnt out after farming a whole lot, and I said, I'm going to start leveling up some of my alts, and I've got my Paladin almost to the point where he's going to be doing Ubers probably in the next week or so, and I've got a Trap Assassin coming up, so don't kill yourself. You only can do so much. The game's great, but don't burn out on it and give up on it. This is something I'll probably be playing for years to come, and I'll probably get in and out of it over the next year or so. But just wanted to give you an idea of how I'm doing, and some thoughts on farming routines. If you got any ideas I missed here, any areas I should focus on, leave me a comment below. Any thoughts on the build and how I optimized it. If you think I should be going Blizzard instead of Orb, heavier firewall, whatever it is, let me know. I'm always curious what people's thoughts are, and I definitely do take it into consideration when I'm testing things and when I respec. So I'm going to leave it here. If you enjoyed this video and you like what I'm putting out there, please do subscribe. And thank you again. Have a good night, everyone.